All right, we will look at why children forget, especially during exams. Other times we don't really worry, but why children forget during the exams and how the learning becomes permanent or should become permanent, because only then there is joy in learning. So it's not that children are incapable. They remember a lot of different things in great detail, but somehow learning, especially the academics in the school system, has reduced to memorization. We want them to remember the facts, we want them to remember certain aspects that do not make as much sense to them. It is not as much of a relevance to them, to the present age time or their own developmental process. So it's something, memorization is something like writing on a sand. We write it, little bit of breeze or water washes it away. That's what happens. A little stress during the exams, they forget it. Most of the children preparing for their grade 10 exams complain about it. We study a lot, but then I cannot get it during the exams. So one thing, either I have to create that kind of a stress environment at home when I study, or I have to be as chill in the house during the exam time. Both don't happen. And definitely, even if they remember it for a little while, we forget. I think I'm also an example for that. We forget after exam, because somehow when I studied it, it was not even to understand the concept completely. It was just to get by with the exam. The objective was completely different. Now, if I want to remember it, then that memorization has to move a little bit into understanding. Why I'm studying, at least some of the concepts, if not everything, right? Why is this concept part of my syllabus? Why am I learning this? What is interesting within this? There is a little bit of effort. Can I explain this in my own words? These are some of the study tips we give children. Read, close the book, and try to write it out in your own words, or explain it to somebody, or draw a picture, do some flashcards, keep looking at it again and again. A little bit of effort goes in there. It's like, compared to drawing out on a sand, it is like taking a wet chalk and writing on the rock. Water will splash, but it will take a few splashes for it to wash away. It will still wash away though. I may be doing it a little differently. I may be a little bit more confident when I memorize certain things by some graphic organizers, mind maps, or some mnemonics. I will remember first few words and then the rest of it will follow during the exams, and I just finish it. So understanding is that little bit of effort that I take to put, during that effort putting process, something kind of sinks in and I remember it for a little longer. At least I'm not as confused during the exams. That is where the curiosity has to come in. Curiosity to understand it a little bit more, so I can recall it a little bit more, and there is an effort. So at least there is confidence during the exam that I do not forget. And that's the best that we do in schools, at least for the ones who are scoring already well, or even the ones who are not scoring, keep looking at your flashcards again and again, question each other, peer study, things like that. But now, when this understanding, I can recall easily, I can tell it in my own words, even if I don't understand the meaning. When does this become a little bit more rooted within me? somewhere, I have to start applying this knowledge. And that's what CBSE curriculum has introduced now. Apply it. One of my teachers, she was teaching in an ICSE school. ICSE is more expansive than CBSE. And she said and she moved to a CBSE school. And she was sharing that ICSE requires you to write one or two keywords, and then child will still score marks. But in CBSE, they're giving these application-based questions. So she is finding it difficult to teach. Somewhere teaching it, the concept, how does it apply in the real world, becomes difficult for teaching, because somewhere we never developed thinking beyond just taking in what was given to me. Memorizing, I won't even take what's given to me, I just parrot it. Understanding, I'm again taking but trying to remember using certain methods. But the true understanding comes when I begin applying it, which means I have to understand, comprehend the concept. This is where the questioning comes. We are never taught to question generally, and young children like 3, 4, 5-year-olds will question us, and we systematically shut them up, because somewhere as adults, as parents and teachers, we think we have to give them the scientifically accurate, correct answer. Children are not looking for that. At that point, they have a question, and when you say, when the child will ask why the sky is blue, and you tell them, the fairy was carrying blue colored water and she just spilled it, and that's why it's blue, they will accept it. You don't have to talk about the light being scattered, the frequency, and all of that. And that is where we dread as well, because we don't want to give wrong answers. Right? So children keep asking questions, and at one point of time we are so tired, we say stop. And eventually children shut up, and that many of us are in that category. We do not ask questions. Why? Why does the seed germinate? Simple. Anything that they see around. Why a bottle with a screwing top also needs a gasket in so water doesn't leak? You may not understand. At least if there is that questioning ability, then the child will start applying whatever they learn. When they learn different materials in chemistry, and if there is something about silicon ring, whatever that comes into picture, and then they say, yeah, I see this in the bottle cap. Oh, maybe this seals the gap. And oh, maybe that's why they have it. And where else is it there? And you start wondering about it. That is where the concept that they're learning in chemistry, when they see it in the world around them. This is similar to, memorization was writing on the sand, and then trying to understand it was like writing with a wet chalk, a little effort. Now this could be related to chiseling out on a rock, that you want to etch out your name or a letter, whatever, on the rock. It requires a lot more effort. It requires a view. It requires some additional tools, some skill, right? And if they chisel off additional piece of rock, then you have to adjust the rest of it. So there is definitely a little bit more effort, but once you get to that level, it becomes enjoyable, because then they can question to themselves rather than just accepting what is given. We read a book, anything, even novel, we don't question, we just take it. And learned people have always told us, do not accept, this is my idea. It may be different for you, for the background you come from. So check it for yourself. It is not just the information. You have to somehow make it your own knowledge. Only then only then can I be confident about what I present. Only then I remember it also because I propose it. In fact, this Nobel laureate Richard Feynman says, like what I'm saying now, Richard Feynman says that you should never quote somebody. So I should not be quoting what Richard Feynman is saying. It should become my knowledge. Right? Richard Feynman said that you should not quote people, you should make that quote your own knowledge. That's what he says. Now, rather than quoting him, when I quote him, I'm only doing it from understanding. I've not applied it to my life. So now, if I want to apply it to my life, I need to not refer to what he's saying. I need to make that idea that he has given, I experiment it, I apply it, I analyze it, I make it my own, and I just say this is what I did. It's not stealing the credit from them, because the way he would have said it in a context is different from the way I would say it in my context. I mean, this is something I realized, especially during teacher training sessions. I would give some solution and it would not work for teachers. Very valid, because the solution I am giving is how I would do it, how I would treat the children, how I would be in a classroom. But teacher is not coming from that kind of a background or environment or thinking. So applying it, when children will take a concept and apply it, it becomes their own knowledge. That is when they'll remember it. This takes time. This has to be developed from younger age, from every classroom. Do it. I mean, where do you want to write? In a plain notebook or in a ruled notebook? Do you want to use simple decisions, right? Do you want to use green color for leaves, or do you want to draw with your regular pencil? Right? So application is like that etching on the stone. It takes time, but there is no stress to erase it. It takes longer time, like rock erosion with lots of wind blowing at it, water splashing on it. It takes that long time for that knowledge to kind of fade away from memory. It won't fade away, it stays forever, but the details may fade away. So I have to apply. Only then the children will not only be confident, but they'll also develop on it. Such children, they don't conform to the rule that we have in exams. If it is a 5-mark question, then I'm required to write at least a page and a half. Or to get 5 marks, I need to write at least a page and a half. Somehow they have made those rules. Such children won't conform to that. They will write because there is joy in writing. And they want to put forth everything that kind of flows to them. Right? And just applying this again is not that highest level of thinking. Then I have to also analyze it. I take this concept. We have this in CBSE as well. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary teaching. A concept that I'm teaching in math, I need to apply it to English or social science. Hello? So I need to apply the knowledge I acquire from one area to another area. So somewhere the child needs to see that these are all interrelated. Connection across ideas. So this is what brings in reflections. This is where we start recognizing patterns. X plus y, 2 plus 3 here is 5. Where else could it be 5? Is it like 2 cities plus 3 cities equals 5 cities? Or is it 2 bananas plus 3 apples equals 5 apples, 5 bananas, or 5 fruits? Why does it change? Again, it is about recognizing these patterns and going for the deeper meaning. If any of you are listening to any of these geopolitical podcasts or talks, you will see how one statement that somebody did has so many links. They did because somebody declared something in another city and somebody hinted that rules would change, and someone else says something. They are not independent, they are all linked at some level. So you will see a pattern in English rhyme. Same pattern we teach children in math. Without that rhyming scheme in languages, there won't be any musical way. Music has the rhyming patterns. So again, you link all of these to an extent possible. Now you can map it to, it's not just chiseling out my name or some letters on a rock. Now trying to make an idol. You are trying to create a bust of somebody. You're creating a piece of architecture here. Something. It's more refined, more thoughtful, more enduring. You have to select a certain kind of rock. You must have read in the newspaper when Ram Mandir was getting done, the Ram's idol, he had to go and select a particular kind of rock to give you the smoothness to work with, to give you that finish, to that look. It requires deeper engagement. And once I've done the basics, I go from memorization to a little bit of understanding, bringing that curiosity in, and then trying to apply it, making it my own knowledge. These skills of analyzing, enduring, putting effort, reflections automatically come up when the child is ready for exams. This will come up in 12, 14-year-olds. That is when they give board exams. It will automatically come because there is basic need that curiosity is there, understanding is there, questioning is there. They have other skills to memorize as well. So I'm not saying memorizing is bad. It has its place. But then to bring that joy in learning, we need to bring other aspects also. So once they're able to see these patterns and they're able to connect between disciplines, they're analyzing the data they have, and they know when to use, what to use, to what extent to use it. That is when they can synthesize all this information. They can put them together to come up with a solution to a problem, some unique problems. Just toy around with that. Just begin observing it. And then the joy of learning comes into picture, because the synthesis connects everything to an extent possible. And I need to develop it also as a parent, as a teacher, to question, to begin with question. Don't just take it. And then see how it applies and analyze the effects of it. That is when an idol is made. But if it is just sitting in some corner, is not, nobody does that, or some great artists may just do it for the sake of it. But then eventually it is installed. It is put in a temple or in a place, in an exhibition hall or center of the city, somewhere where it is available for public to also be mesmerized and enjoy that. Right? That is the joy. That is getting all the ideas together and across different subjects, across different experiences, where learning comes, learning is happening all through, and the learning stays not because they were under the pressure of exams, but just because they could know the nature around them. And that's ultimately what we want to get to. From that space, when I'm learning for the sake of learning, and I have this enthusiasm about learning. At some point when there's nothing to learn, we kind of get bored. We just start looking around as to why. There's so many whys you can ask. Why the mouse is shaped this way? Why the pen? Even invention of a pen, improvising of the pen, the grip, the length, the weight, etc., requires so much of thinking through and practicing, applying, all of that. So then I'm just busy exploring. And that is when the child is also engaged. And that is when the child can also judge, what do I want to learn further? What do I want to be? How do I want to go about with my life? It's not about judging what is good or bad. It is more about this understanding, the wisdom that is coming because of experiences, because of the effort I have put. That is when the children would never forget. All this should kind of come to a maturity by the time child is in 18, in 12th grade. By about that time, in the third stage of child development, from 14 till 21, they should form slowly over a period of 10 to 12, 15 years. That is when they're taking any kind of exam, there is no fear. No stress. They are putting forth whatever they know. They have done it so many times that there is no worry. This is what many of the preschools, many of the schools, especially Waldorf kind of schools, do that for their annual day. Children do things in the classroom on daily basis. It's part of their class rhythm. And finally, there's one annual day, they just come out and perform. There is no practice needed. There is no costumes needed. It's just part of life. There is the exam, the word exam itself creates so much of fear. And even we go antsy in the school system, set the paper and have the answer key, label the rooms and the tables and whatnot. So somewhere this permanent learning moves through these different stages. Begin with memorization, because you see in kindergarten we memorize the rhymes, because they don't have ability to understand yet. Their faculties to understand have not developed. Faculty to analyze has not developed. All those come later in the years. But you can begin with questioning, which is very natural to them, right? Then begin with memorization for sure. Then questioning to understand, the curiosity to understand. Thereafter, do that application. Again, no right wrong answers, but at least think, where would you apply this? And then move on to analyzing the facts, connecting the patterns, understanding that there is link somewhere else. And finally, you synthesize all the information we have gathered to make up your own. It's your own knowledge, it's your wisdom. So when such learning is in my experience, I have done it, then it may appear like you have memorized it, but that's not true. Because when you have to explain it to somebody, it just flows. The words kind of fall in place. It appears memorized, but it's not. So just remember this, children don't forget children forget not because they're incapable, but because this knowledge has not become their own. It has not become part of their system. So encourage that ability where they can put in the effort, where they enjoy putting that effort, where they enjoy sharing it, where they talk about it. Eventually it becomes their own. Then there is no fear. I hope some of these concepts are a little bit clear. Definitely we can delve deeper into it in later episodes. Thank you very much.